Good evening, race fans. Welcome to the Core Racing Network. Tonight, the Chop Shop GT Series presented by Fuego Paints heads to Japan, to the Okayama International Circuit for race number 7 here on the season. We are more than halfway through the regular season, so the playoffs are now starting to come into picture, and we'll get to the standings here in just a moment. Carl Hamwork joined in the booth by Mark Thomas. And Mark, when it comes to Okayama, not exactly the most difficult road course out there, but it's certainly got some little sections that you need to be aware of.
Very true, Carl. Very true. There's a couple of tricky little, I'll say tricky little sections, but Williams can be a little tricky. That's the section just after the first corner. It tends to make the car want to push wide and the back end over rotate. Then you come down into Atwood just after the little Moss S, which is not really an S. It's a straight line. You can straight line it if you believe you can straight line it. Yeah. Then you come down to turn 4, which is Atwood, the really sharp looking long right-hander that leads up onto the long straight. Plenty of passing opportunity going into Atwood and the hairpin. Then you go into Revolver, which is the really sharp little left section. That can be quite tricky there. Very easy to run it wide on the exit, which leaves you straight in the Piper, which is the left, which leads up onto the short back straight, leads up to Redmond. Yeah, the Redmond's not, that's a big braking zone down to first gear, hard left-hand turn. And then a very short little square up into Hobbs, which is turn 9. Quite a tricky little right. You want trying to get on the power there before you come into the Mike Knight corner. There's a long right which leads into the last corner. Yeah, the last corner. That's another tricky little section. You want to try and get onto that right side. You want to try and clip that apex because you really do want a big, good long run out into that straight. There's a lot of outbraking opportunities as you go into the first corner.
So we got a decent sized field on tap here tonight. Looks like we got about 13, 14 guys out here ready to take the green flag, and these guys are out there qualifying right now. We'll bring up those qualifying results so far, but in the meantime, we'll take a look at the standings. And as I mentioned, we are now on race number 7, and there are only, gotta double check here, but there are only 11 rounds in the regular season. So once we're done with this, we only got 4 more rounds before we head into the playoffs. And looking at the standings, we got James Pierce obviously locking himself in with the 5 wins out of the 6 races. Wasn't here last week. It was Nathan Biggert taking the win, so he locks himself into the playoffs. David Steiner in 3rd, Andrew Payne, Michael Caffrey, Michael Strickland, Dominique Ford, Mark Odell, Wesley Strait, Mark Rockin round out your top 10. Then you got John Hammond and Cam DeRue in 11th and 12th. But you see only 2 points back there to Philip Caffrey, only 8 points back to Colby Hartung and Steven Salas. So the last couple spots certainly up for grabs here in the Chop Shop GT Series presented by Fuego Paint. So now we'll bring up our qualifying results so far, and no surprise here, James Pierce on top of the boards with a 129.323. Dominique Ford, the only other one that has cracked into the 129 so far. He sits 2nd. You got Colby Hartung, Michael Caffrey, and John Hammond, your top 5 right now.
Yeah, no surprise to see Pierce out there at the top. Dominic Ford still managing to break it, as you say, into the 129, so that's a good time. Cody Hartung, Michael Caffrey, John Hammond, very close on times. 130 with a 46.69, geekily, and an 84. So yeah, should be interesting. Do I think Pierce is going to break away? Maybe it does look like he's got a fair turn of pace, and but yeah, I'm not sure the 4 behind are going to find it that easy. Plus, you know, as we said here, looking at some of the practice, it's going to be interesting. I think there might be a mistake or two. Don't hold me to that. And if anybody crashes, that's not my fault.
Well, you heard it first right here, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah,
No, you didn't. No.
Yeah, I mean, as we talked about, that this track is not that difficult, but it's got enough tricky little sections that it allows a guy that can really kind of nail down this flow to break away. And I'm sure if there's anybody that's going to be able to do that, it would be James Pierce at the front. But yeah, I mean, a lot of different ways to attack some of these corners. I mean, you know, some guys really like to stay, you know, all the way in the inside through turn one, and stay all the way to that right side to set up turn number two. Some guys like to almost kind of, you know, diamond turn one and come in, or not diamond, but kind of apex it right in the middle. So turn in a little bit late and get to the inside about halfway through, and then drift all the way out before they rotate back to the right. And that's just turn one. I mean, yeah, 10 different ways to skin a cat, and just about every one of these corners. So we'll see what works out best for these guys, which is the fast lines. But you see the track already kind of rubbering it a little bit. So hopefully it'll give these guys some grip. I know they certainly seem to be struggling just a little bit in practice.
Yeah, you and me both. We both kind of looked over and the squeal of tyres and the odd accident. I think they might be in a bit of malarkey going on there. I didn't want to say anything, but I mean, you know, I think there might have been just a little malarkey. But as you can see, I mean, looking at the view that we have right now, you can see where the line's starting to rubber in, and you know, as you said, there's a lot of different ways to take this track. And I mean, that midsection through turn one, I don't know, dude. I like the right side. I mean, I like to hug that right side because I want to be on the. I want to be taking Williams on the inside. A little bit of a late break going into Williams and trying to get off without it running too wide, because Williams for me is always one of those really tricky corners that you seem to get right 80% of the time, but the one time you get it wrong, and yeah, there's very little runoff on the outside of Williams before you hit a tire barrier or wall.
Yeah, and it's one of those one of these tracks where you need to maximize the straightaways. There's plenty of straightaways here on the track, and you really need to focus all your energy and all your attention on those straightaways so you can get those good runs out of there. But we are done with qualifying. We're ready to get to the grid here, so we'll go ahead and take you down to the grid and show you the rundown as soon as it lets me. It doesn't want to change cameras. There we go. So your qualifying results are going to be as follows. It's going to be James Pierce on the pole, and that's not it. How about this one? There we go. James Pierce on the pole with a 129.323. Dominic Ford, again, the only other one to crack in the 129s. He's going to start in second. Colby Hartung, Michael Caffrey, John Hammond round out your top five. Then you got David Steiner, Wesley Strait, Philip Caffrey, Steven Salas, and Jerry Culver rounding out your top 10. The rest of the field is going to be in 11th, Nathan Biggert, Isaac Balsamo in 12th, and Cameron DeRue in 13th. The last three guys not putting a lap down, but pace car is pulling away now, and just a short little run before we get this thing going. And you see the pole sitter going to be on the right side here, as turn one going to take you to the right. An hour long for these guys to get this thing done, and this thing I think is more of a track that it's going to feel like it goes quick, and I think these laps are going to really click off pretty quickly. There's a lot of straightaways, so you're feeling a lot of speed, but then you got some quick little hairpins as well. So we'll see how these guys handle it as we come out of the final corner, and we'll wait for Barney to wave the green flag here at the Okayama International Circuit. And green flag out, and James Pierce gets a great jump. Dominic Ford is going to switch to the other side and block the inside a little bit here as the field dives off into turn number one. You already see a couple different lines going through Williams here. And the section where Mark said, just go ahead and just drive straight. As you see these guys pretty much doing that. You see just a little bit of a zigzag going through there, heading down into what's kind of the easier rounded off hairpin for the head all the way down the backstretch here. You see him on your right-hand side, heading down into the turn called hairpin. I mean, it's pretty on the nose in this one, but really slow hairpin right here, and you really got to kind of not drive it up out of the corner. You really need to kind of take it on the inside, keep it tucked in through there to kind of set you up for that double left-hand corner as these guys now come out onto the run down to Redmond. And so far so good from these guys, a good start. And I'm not seeing really any issues here in the field. Cam Deroux started back a little bit, but he's already caught up to Jerry Culver. Going to look to the inside to try and make a pass. But James Pierce going to lead him through the last corner here, and he will take the official first lap here. And a big shocker there that James Pierce is out in the lead and out to a 1.9 second lead already, as Dominic Ford already got his hands full as Colby Hartung was trying to get in there, and he had to play a little defense going into turn one. And so far so good for these guys. David Steiner right there in fourth, and obviously beginning of the race, keep your eyes on that 63. Keep your eyes on David Steiner, as he's one that's always there at the end. If he can ever just get that start and middle of the race just nice and clean and just figure it out and not have issues, you never know how far up this guy can finish. As you see a little bit of flash in there ready from Colby Hartung trying to get in the mind of Dominic Ford.
I feel sorry for Steiner, because he does it every time you look over at his car. It looks like he's being held up. It looks like he's got pace. To quote a friend of mine, he always looks quick. Always looks quick. He just doesn't. I think he's a bit like me. He can't seem to get a quality lap in. I don't know what it is. There's some guys out there that can just, when the qualification happens, they can just turn it on and they can just turn that one quick lap time. And for me, I can never seem to turn it on. When it comes to race, I can, I'm okay. I can get it down. But yeah, that quality lap always seems to kill me. And I think Mr. Steiner here suffers from the same problem, because he's always got good race pace every single time we've watched him.
Well, I think he also suffers from the same thing that you suffer from, which is getting involved in some other incidents that kind of unavoidable at times. And he's certainly been in his share of those. But he's also kind of, stubbed his toes every once in a while and kind of caused the incidents himself. So hopefully he can get that 63 straightened out. And I think at bare minimum he's fighting for second place here. But I'd love to see somebody try and take a run at the 23 out front. But Pierce already out to a 3.5 second lead here, and man, at this pace, is he threatening to lap the field? I mean, I don't think it's going to be that much, but yeah, I mean, obviously Pierce a very good driver, and he's showing so far this season. But the rest of the field, I mean, kind of throw your darts at the dartboard. Anybody can really come through. I mean, we've seen good runs, obviously, by Dominic Ford. Colby Hartung hasn't been out here too many times, but we've seen him do well when he's out here. David Steiner, we just got done talking about. Michael Caffrey has been up there. Nathan Biggert, obviously, grabbing the only other win here on the season. John Hammond is up there in the points for a reason, too. When he's out here, he's running decent. Maybe not the one that's going to be up there in the top 5 and kind of battling for those podiums every week, but just kind of steady as you go, and he finds his way and just grabs some positions when others make mistakes in front of him. So a lot of guys in the field here can certainly make something happen. So love to see the battle from second on back.
Yeah, looking back over what I've seen so far, it looked like Nathan Biggert was just the only guy doing a pass. John Hammond for P6. So.
Take a look at the pass right here.
Nice little dive up there.
2 good-looking cars right there. 3 if you can. I mean, 3 right there. You might as well throw Wesley straight in there too. I'm a big fan of the Storm Racing cars there too.
Yeah. Yeah, that BMW looks looks phenomenal.
Quite a few of them out here too, as once again these guys have to lock themselves into manufacturer for the season, and it's nice. It helps us out. It helps us pick out who is who, you know, from a distance, and we can see who's running what, because all these guys pretty much are sticking to the same paint scheme as well. But you see on your tower there, your timing tower, that there are 4 BMWs out there in the field, 4 Porsches, and then the rest are just kind of you know, one-offs, as you have 1 Mercedes out there, 1 McLaren. Actually, sorry, two Mercedes, 1 McLaren, and then 2 Ferraris.
Yeah, before we... Oh, Salvador.
A little spicy there.
Yeah, just a little. Talking about spicy, I'm going to switch over to the live chat just for a quick second. JCMO show me. Here we go. Carl Mark, Chop Shop GT3 Racing. Absolutely, couldn't agree with you more. Nate Biggett. I hope he's not texting and driving whilst he's doing this. So come on, dude. Focus on what you did.
I mean, it would explain a lot of things this season.
No, I ain't saying nothing. Go for the hard charge, Joe. Good luck, guys. Have a fun broadcast. We always do. Thanks, Nate. Barry TK, as always, good luck to all these drivers. Absolutely. My 3 sons, happy anniversary, Jerry Culver. I mean, what a way to celebrate your anniversary. I mean, come on. Is there any... I don't think there's a better way.
Well, how about the better way up front here, as we had a bit of an issue here from James Pierce. We'll show you right now. And this is going through turn number 2, catches the grass going in. And a good job keeping it on the track, sliding sideways, and had a quick threat right there from Dominic Ford, and Ford did everything he could to try and get in there and put the pressure on him. Unfortunately, on the outside of that corner, he's going to take the inside, but a little bit of a dummy there, and Pierce goes for the crossover and gets it done down the backstretch.
Yeah, I mean, I did say Williams is one of those corners, and it is one of those where it can, you get it slightly wrong. Yeah, it's easy to get that car to over rotating now. It's a long left. Closing, gradually. Ooh.
Well, perfect timing. Okay. If taking a look at the chat there from Craig Potter, you know, you just need to wrinkle up the nose, and you see, Craig, that's how you do it right there. You see, he's in the Ferrari. He wrinkled up the nose. It's anniversary time. Watch Jerry Culver just fly through this field now.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's sorry, Craig. I got distracted. I'm sorry. These guys, they always distract me. It is terrible.
So now that we had a little bit of a close-up there at the front, it's only 1.5 seconds from... we got another issue.
Steiner looking like he wants past Hartung badly. I mean, he's had a good couple of looks.
Well, and I feel like this is where he gets into those issues, and you know, hopefully he exercises a little bit of patience here and tries to get around the right way, because it feels like when he gets up on the wheel of it early in these races and he's forcing the issue, and he's not necessarily, you know, making those dives to try and get in there, but he's putting himself into you know, unfavorable situations, and that's where he kind of makes one little mistake because he's trying to follow too close and really try and set up that pass, and that's where he makes that mistake. So hopefully he keeps that thing under control. But right behind him, not letting him go, is Michael Caffrey, and right behind them, Nathan Biggert. So very close here.
Yeah, I was just about to say the exact same thing. What this has done, I think, has brought Caffrey and Biggert right up into the mix. And it looks like Caffrey's been consistently up there, you know, with his lap time. I mean, both him and Biggert were in the 1:30.8 last lap round. So, you know, that's a quick lap time around here. Now, if they can keep that up, then this is going to get real interesting up front.
Yeah, and it seems like as the race starts to kind of wear in here a little bit, these guys are starting to run their fastest laps of the race. If you notice to the right there, you see Isaac Balsamo running a green lap right there. That means that is his fastest lap of the race. That's his personal best. If you see a lap time come up in purple, that is the best for the race. So just give you an idea of that. If it's a white lap, then it's just basically just another lap. But these guys starting to kind of fall into their own here and run some personal bests.
Just another lap, he says. Just another lap.
Ho-hum.
Yeah, just simple. It's simple.
Yeah.
You just,
Yawn.
you go straight, and if something gets in the way, you turn.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, gotcha.
As one of our friends says, you know, go fast, turn left, and turn right sometimes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, mostly right here. This is what you see. Yeah, they don't do oval here. I mean, it's Japan. It's Okayama. They make things more complicated here.
The SDK making things complicated as the track map keeps going away on me. But back up here again, as I'll reset this thing 20 times if I have to. But getting a little close here. The battle from second all the way back to sixth position. I mean, you see these guys throw a blanket over them as you got Dominique Ford, you got Kobe Hartung, David Steiner, Michael Caffrey, Nathan Biggert, all right there within just a couple seconds of each other. And John Hammond is not too far back as well. He's only about 2.5 seconds back behind this battle. But a little bit of a dust up there from Dominique Ford, and I'm wondering if a couple laps of pushing to try and keep up with James Pierce, it got a little tantalizing there. Maybe he got those tires heat up a little bit. Now he's falling back into the clutches.
I agree, Carl. I think that's a superb diagnosis. I think he does. I think he looks like he's struggling a little bit. But I think the advantage he might have is a big old grunt from that Mercedes out of some of these corners. Just propels him down that straight. You see him switching to the left, trying to break the toe, but I don't think anybody else wants it. I don't think they want to go over to that side. They're quite happy where they are. But yeah, I think this section of the track is where they're going to struggle.
Oh, Isaac Balsamo getting shoved around there by the anniversary man, Jerry Culver, as he was the one that got in the front of Culver. So I think Jerry needs to be thanking him, for wrinkling up the front of that Ferrari. I mean, just ask Greg Potter what it does to the speed of that thing. But apparently thanking him in a different way and getting him hooked around right there. But I mean, these guys are putting on a good battle here, and we're not even a quarter of the way through this thing. So this thing is it's shaping up to be a pretty good race. I'm really interested to see how the pit strategy goes in this one as well.
Yeah, this should be interesting. I'm wondering if some of these guys are thinking of taking tyres, maybe. I'm not sure I'd want to, but I think it's probably going to cross their minds, because this track can be hard on tyres. I'm trying to look at have we got a track temp? Do you know what the track temp is? I know it's the SDK does that kind of thing.
We do. Yep. I just got to find it over here.
Ooh, it looks a little toasty out there to me. 117. 117. Yeah, that's gonna be an effect. That's gonna hurt some of these cars.
And Colby Hartung gets a little sideways, and unfortunately nowhere for Steiner to go. And again, just another situation. Steiner collected in somebody else's mistake right there, and very close there from Hammond as they're gonna go side by side. But, oh man, I mean, Steiner again right there looking to try and take over third, and now all of a sudden he's back in fifth.
So, as you were saying, that's just some of that Steiner bad luck once again. Yeah, he really didn't have anywhere to go. I mean, he was kind of lost in the middle of nowhere with Hartung just sideways right in front of him.
He talked about the track temperature, and that's one thing. I mean, 117 degrees is, I mean, and another issue for Hartung. That was a big incident right there. Took off the whole front end of the car. That thing is not going to be driving right if you can even drive that thing at all. But yeah, as we were saying, that now the track temperature up to 118, but I'm taking a look at that wind as well. Typically, we only have some light wind out here, 2 miles an hour or so, but 16 miles an hour, that's going to affect your handling.
Yeah, and if it's gusting as well, then that's really going to cause you some issues.
Battle as Nathan Biggert trying to go 2 for 1 here, as right there, Isaac Balsamo not for position, but he is going to get around Michael Caffrey. So now move Biggert up into 3rd place. So the man that has got the only other win here on the season, now looking to get a little racy here, and he's got quite a gap that he needs to make up, about 3.2 seconds to get to Dominique Ford, but he's got by 3 actually of his competitors here now, and started back in 11th, so he's gotten past more than that. He's all the way up to 3rd place right now, so 8 positions. So a good start here for Nathan Biggert, as he was one of the 3 guys that did not qualify here tonight. Not sure if he tried to qualify and just couldn't get a lap in, or if he just elected to kind of start from the back. But either way, it's working out pretty nicely.
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure if it was a way to go not putting a lap time in, but as you say, I mean, he may just have elected to start from the pit and you know, thinking to himself that it's going to get a bit spicy up the front, and it was best to be at the back and try and keep the car underneath him, which has certainly worked for him. If anything, a little wide coming out to the last corner there, just a fraction, maybe just a little bit of the key on that left rear there. Unfortunately, starting from the back, this is now what you're left with, though, is you've now got a fair size gap to Dominique in front, and an even bigger gap from you know, Dominique up to Pierce. We're getting up to about 9-10 seconds now. What's the interval? Yeah, well, 7.5 seconds.
So again, we talked about the playoff picture coming in here, and you know, you got John Hammond towards the back half. You got Mark Rockin towards the back half, and I haven't seen Mark out here for a little bit. John Hammond back out here on the track, and he's doing pretty well up there in 6th place. But the guys below the cut line, Philip Caffrey in 13th in the points, but only 2 points behind Cam Deroux. And you know, I'm kind of keeping an eye on that battle, as well as only 1.5 seconds in between those guys right now. And this is it could be very important when it comes to grabbing one of those final few playoff positions here. And again, you know, including this race, only 5 races, so it can every little point matters. I mean, let's be honest, especially when it's in the back half. I mean, guys like, you know, David Steiner, Andrew Payne, they're up there far enough in the points that this should be pretty secure where they are right now. I mean, obviously it can fade away pretty quickly, but the guys that are right on the bubble or just out, like Philip Caffrey right here, needs to kind of get it going here and string some good finishes together. And he's got a guy that is ahead of him in the points right now, but only just, and he's right in front of him.
Yeah, that is kind of the carrot, isn't it, really? You see the guy right there, and you do think to yourself, I can make this. You know, my lap times aren't that much off his. Can I, you know, push just that fraction harder and put him under a bit of pressure, maybe force him into a mistake? And then trying to get a rough idea of the lap times. Yeah. Oh no, Cameron Deroux was just a little quicker that last lap than Caffrey, but you know, even so, that was just the last lap. It's not over. I think Caffrey might be pushing on just a little bit, running slightly wide into Williams there.
Get back up to our battle up front, as well as it's starting to tighten up once again, as Nathan Biggert has run down Dominique Ford, and we're back once again to a 4-car battle, as you got Dominique Ford in 2nd, Nathan Biggert in 3rd, Michael Caffrey in 4th, and then David Steiner in 5th place right now. So we see
running wide coming out that last corner again. Nathan's just launching it up the inside.
A little bit of a peak right there.
So confident on the brakes in that Porsche.
Oh, and Ford blinking out there a little bit. He comes back on there, and hopefully that doesn't sustain itself. That was just a once and done thing. I haven't seen him blink at all before that, so. And I'm not sure if this is because he blinked out or not. Yeah, okay. So right there, it said that Nathan Biggert passed him, and then Dominic Ford passed him back. So great job, great passing right there by those guys.
Yeah. Invisible to the naked eye. It was so fast.
Yeah.
You couldn't even see it.
And again, throw a blanket over these guys. They're nose to tail all the way through here. And that's what can happen right there. A little bit of pressure, and Dominic Ford goes around. So Nathan Biggert now up into second place, but Michael Caffrey right there. Dominic Ford doing a good job getting it righted right away, and hopefully he's got a little bit of pace in that Mercedes to run these guys down. And I'm wondering, Mark, is this track eating up those tires on that Mercedes?
Yeah, I think so. We were talking about it earlier, the track temp, the crosswind, the fact that these guys are having to push quite so hard to make the time. I think he's burning those tyres up, which would not surprise me when they do come in for them pit stops, that they put on a fresh set of rubber, because I think the time offset between having fresh tyres on here and running around on these what look like highly worn and extremely hot slicks might be a problem.
Off here for was he straight? A good job straightening it back out, no pun intended.
Nice, very nice.
But I'll tell you what, once Nathan Biggert got by Dominic Ford, he's checked out a bit here. Got out to about a 1.5 second lead, but David Steiner able to get by Michael Caffrey as well, and we'll take a look at that pass right now. As this happened not too long after, you see in the first little hairpin there, Caffrey goes. Actually, no, that wasn't the hairpin. That was towards the end of the track. Caffrey just goes a little bit wide and opens the door for Steiner. So that moves Steiner back up into third position.
I think the rears on that Porsche might be getting a little warm as well. That Porsche is quite harsh on rear tyres. So yeah, I think that there might be a little bit of rear tyre wear going on with those Porsches. As we were saying, I think it might be getting to the point now where they're seriously considering taking on some of those extra tyres during the pit stop. I think it might actually work to their benefit, especially taking on fresh rubber with the track temp as it is. I think they can offset the time lost by just having fresh rubber in the car.
When it's crazy. It's one of those things you don't really ever think about. I mean, typically when you're thinking about racing, and I guess it more tends to go towards over racing, where you're thinking, okay, maybe I'll just take right side tires to help it rotate a little bit more, or just taking one side or the other. But is there ever a thought to, for instance, being in the Porsche, seems to want to wear those rears out when it comes to just getting down the power and kind of lighten those tires up a little bit? Is there ever a thought of maybe taking just rear tires?
You know what? You could consider it. I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't work. But then I think maybe just having the rears on there, would you then start having an incredible amount of push with like worn rubber on the front and good rubber on the rear, and a push situation, especially around here, is really not what you want at all. Oh, Dominic just a little too wide, catching a bit of the grass there. Good recovery though, quick.
Yeah, and he's not really liking that double left-hand corner right now. That's twice that we've seen the 33 spin through there. But Nathan Biggert is the one in second, but they're all trailing James Pierce at the front out there to a 12.5 second lead right now. So a massive lead there for the 23 as he's already on the backstretch, and these guys are certainly doing their own battles back here as Steiner, he falls back a little bit and then he reels him back in. He falls back a little bit and then he reels him back in. So I think this may end up being a battle that goes down to the end here. And oh, by the way, McCaffrey is just sitting right there and just waiting for these guys to start mixing it up.
Yeah, it's just about to say, I see McCaffrey back now. He's just a little out, but not to the point where he can't make a move if these two get a little spicy up front. And I think it's different parts of the track where the overall balance and grip package of the BMW is giving benefits to Steiner, whereas that top end speed and just some of the drive out is benefiting bigger. And I think that's what we're seeing at places. It does look like at certain parts of the track Nathan closes up, and then at other parts of the track David seems to get closer and closer. So yeah, I think it might be that balance of which part of the track suits which car the best, but it all seems to balance itself out towards the end. And
Steiner stuck in the middle. He's the meat in this Porsche sandwich right now, just kind of getting yo-yoed back and forth. But take a look earlier as we had Cam Giroux making a pass on Steven Salas. Salas looks like he just goes wide here and allows Giroux to go past. This was the pass to get Giroux up into 8th position. So we are closing in on our halfway point right now, and again, James Pierce out there to a nice lead out there to about 13 seconds now. Nathan Biggert right here in 2nd. 3rd place is David Steiner. 4th, Michael Caffrey. 5th is Dominique Ford. 6th is John Hammond. Again, just kind of plodding his way along here, not getting involved in anything. Wesley Strait in 7th. Cameron DeRue now up into 8th. Steven Salas in 9th. Philip Caffrey 10th. Colby Hartung way back there now in 11th position. And man, I mean, what could have been here for Colby before he had a hard impact there. Took off the front end of that car, but he was running up there at the front of the pack for quite some time. Then you got Jerry Culver, anniversary man, back there in 12th. Hasn't found the speed, as he's right there in front of Nathan Biggert that maybe Craig Potter might find in that Ferrari once you knock off the front a little bit. But he is in 12th place, and then Isaac Balsamo rounding out your field in 13th position, and it looks like Isaac has retired here for the night.
Yeah, there's always going to be some attrition here. As we were talking about earlier, before the race officially started, there's a lot of runoff in a couple of these places, and as you can see from the front end missing off a BMW, there are certain places where it's almost instant death for your car, that is. So it doesn't surprise me that we've got a couple who are already out. Let me just flick over to the live chat for a second. Barry TK, good racing so far. Yeah, I agree. The second, third, fourth battle has been pretty consistent all through the race. Yeah, it's been real interesting. Barry TK again. The best broadcasters in here tonight, Carla Mark.
To quote Breaking Bad, you're goddamn right.
Yeah. And Saigo Vroom. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I can see it.
Very much so. So again, closing in on the halfway, and it's been another James Pierce kind of night. We've seen a little chink in the armor getting onto the grass and sliding sideways, and for a brief moment losing the lead. He still led every lap out here tonight, but we've seen somebody pass him, and it was on the track, and it wasn't during the pit cycle. So I think that's a win-win. I mean, either way you're going to take it. But we talk about some of these guys just sliding sideways, having some issues, and again, tons of different ways to kind of handle these turns. But typically going into these turns, you're trying to widen them out as much as possible. You're trying to really be on that edge. And if you're going into right-hander, you want to be as far left as possible, and braking in a straight line to get yourself a good entry into those corners. But the problem is, you see right here, there's the track, there's a thin white line, and then there's grass. There's nothing else leading into these corners, and all it takes is just getting a little bit spicy and getting just off that white line and onto the grass, and you touch the brakes when you have any part of that tire on the grass, and it's going to loop around.
Yeah, it's the grass is oil or ice in iRacing. Oh no!
Steiner didn't hit anything right there, but it's going to allow Caffrey to get by into third place.
That's a shame. That's such a shame.
And then the other Caffrey making a pass as well as Steven Salas going to bring it into pit lane. So Philip Caffrey going to move up as well. What do you were saying, Mark, as far as the the ice here, the icy grass?
Yeah, it was, many a time as that caught me out. Just when you think it's safe, just, I'll just dip a wheel, or I'll just take a little bit more exit here, or you just want to take just that little bit, a little couple of inches too much on the left-hand side. You dip one wheel into that grass, you hit the brakes, and before you know it, you're facing the wrong direction, looking at the traffic coming at you. Yeah, you do not want to be touching the grass here.
Well, and you wonder, like iRacing has been talking about bringing the rain model in for a long time and having rain in some of these races. You wonder if is it at that time or maybe leading up to that they kind of take a look at the grass here, because granted, I know these tires and these cars aren't meant to drive on grass. Totally get it, but it's well known amongst drivers here on iRacing that the grass does not handle that bad. Not saying you want to just go off and go driving in the grass, but it's not as slick as iRacing has right now. So you wonder maybe once they kind of slick up the track, when it comes to the rain, if that's the time where they kind of take a look at the grass and maybe just give it a little bit more grip. I'm not saying crank that thing up and make it that you can drive on that grass like you're a Pro 2 truck, but give it a 10% more grip. So you have a chance to save it before you're hammering that wall.
What I'm reckoning, Carl, is that when the rain is introduced eventually, come on, iRacing, please put rain in there. I really want to do rain. I think that they're going to multiply the slipperiness of grass by 150%. So that
under the rain,
as soon as you look at the grass, you're not even going to have to touch it. You're just going to have to look at it, and then all of a sudden you'll be facing the wrong direction, looking at the cars coming at you from the track.
Well, and that I totally get. Like the way the grass handles right now is like it's slick. It's like it just rained and the grass is saturated, and that's how it handles right now. Like the grass is wet. So I'm fine keeping that level of detail and that grip amount for when it does rain, but when it's dry like this, you need to have a little bit more grip on that grass just to have that extra little chance of saving it. Great. I know you're not supposed to be driving in the grass. Totally get it, but when you make a little mistake, it shouldn't just absolutely end your night when you just catch that little bit of grass. But we are past halfway now, and you see pit road starting to get busy as we already had our leader James Pierce come into the pits. Nathan Biggert already in, Dominique Ford in. You got John Hammond in right now. Cameron DeRue is in. Colby Hartung already in the pits. He came in on lap 11, so wondering if he can get that thing all the way to the end now. Obviously, want to come in as probably as early as possible to get that thing repaired and try and get back in the mix of this thing, as he's in 8th place right now behind Philip Caffrey. But I mean, this could play out pretty nicely here. If Colby Hartung can get this thing to the end, he may be able to shuffle up and still be battling for a top 5.
Yeah, I'm trying to look. Do we know what lap he came in on?
Came in on lap 11.
Ooh.
So he came in about 10, maybe 9 laps earlier than everybody else. So around the 15-minute mark, I think is where he came in. So he's going to have to go a lot longer than the rest of these guys. It's going to be a tough ask, but we'll see how it happens. And now it looks like we have the rest of our guys coming in the pits. Michael Caffrey and David Steiner and Wesley Strait in as well. James Pierce going to take back over the lead. Philip Caffrey is one of the only 2 guys that has yet to pit, as you see him right there in 8th place. And then Jerry Culver back in 10th place has yet to pit as well, but everybody else has hit pit road. And it is James Pierce out front by about 16.5 seconds. Michael Caffrey going to be out there in 2nd. So,
yeah, I do believe that late pit strategy has worked in a big style for Michael Caffrey, because I believe that he's actually put a fair bit of there
absolutely.
is Nathan Biggert in the background.
Yeah, the overcut very big here as he comes in 2 laps later than Nathan Biggert, and it allows him to get into the lead. And I mean, you're looking at the pit times and everything like that. It had nothing to do with Pitt, because he was actually just a smidge slower than Nathan Bigger when it comes to the entire pit time, but he's got it done on the track. So the overcut's certainly working out here nicely for Michael Caffrey. Nathan Bigger is in third place here. Then you got David Steiner not too far behind in fourth. And then unfortunately you got to go quite a ways back to Dominique Ford, who ran the first quarter of this race in the lead, but had a couple issues going through the double left-hand corners there, and finds himself now about 12.8 seconds behind fourth place as he's sitting in fifth. Colby Hartung, again, had to make a bit of an earlier pit stop with that damage, but we'll see if he can make this thing now to the end. He's sitting back here in sixth place. Philip Caffrey still out there and still getting this thing done, and this may be a good indication of, you know, if Colby Hartung can make this thing to the end, because now it's 36 minutes into this race. Philip Caffrey's still out there and going around for another lap. Oh, nope, never mind. Cuts in at the last second. Hopefully it's not a pit penalty cutting in that late, but he's going to bring it in the pits, and looks at Jerry Culver in as well. So everybody will cycle through now as we are on the back half of this race.
That's 38 minutes in, Carl, looking at that. Sorry, 36 minutes in. Yeah, I'm not sure that pitting on lap 11 is gonna make it for. It's going to be really tight. You're going to have to lift and coast an awful lot to get that much to the end. Sorry, got distracted. I just looked at James Pierce. James Pierce putting on an absolute clinic. 1:29.39 for his last lap. 1:29.39 with the track temp and with the wind as it is. That's hoofing.
Yeah, the only one to crack it in the 129s here on the race pace. Obviously, we've seen a couple guys down there on qualifying, but that's kind of when you're just letting everything hang out. But you try and drive it a little bit more sensible here in the race. But he's got the pace to get into the 29s by himself. Even the last lap right there, 1:30.15. would be the fastest lap of the race compared to everybody else. The quickest lap other than him out there looks like it's a tie between Steiner and Ford, as they both have, actually Nathan Bigger with a 1:30.08. So Bigger certainly has a fast Porsche out here, and trying to back up his first place last week with a second place here tonight, but he's got to find a way to get back again past Caffrey.
It looks like Caffrey has managed to find himself in a place where he's absolutely comfortable with that Porsche. I wouldn't say he's maintaining the gap, but it doesn't look like that car's being overdriven. It's very easy to tell at times when somebody's giving absolutely everything that the cars have. You can tell it looks aggressive, and the car's moving around under the brakes, whereas Caffrey looks like he's driving in marshmallow. It's very, very squeaky, very wallowy, very soft and smooth.
Uh-oh, we got a couple issues here. And it may involve maybe both in the same incident here, as Jerry Culver loops it right in front of our leader, and Pierce has the wherewithal to just brake and stop the thing on the track. So that was the quote-unquote crash that James Pierce was just involved in, but a good situational awareness right there to just lock it up, and does not get into Culver at all, and he's going to go around. I think maybe Culver spun around. You notice every time he spins around, he faces that front end towards the field coming in there. I'm wondering if he needs maybe a little bit of a kiss again on that front end to kind of back that up. We'll have to check in with Craig Potter to see. I mean, he's the resident Ferrari expert when it comes to wrecking that front end and getting faster.
Yeah, I think he just needs a little bit of extra downforce on the front of that Ferrari. Just a little touch, a dab, a little kiss. Just.
And by downforce, you mean just, you know, wrecking it so that front end hood is the hood's buckled. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So just to turn the hood into a spoiler. Gotcha.
Yep.
Well, as I said, we're past halfway now, as we're closing in on 2/3 race distance right now. So It's about time to crank this GT3 series up, listen to different sights and sounds of these different manufacturers, and give you guys a little love to hear it. And that's not exactly the way we wanted to come back here off of the love to hear it, as we've seen issue there from Michael Caffrey, seeing right from the front bumper of David Steiner. But we'll take a look at what exactly happened there, and I think it was Michael Caffrey just making a little bit of an error coming into the hairpin, and we'll see if he doesn't touch the grass at all, but just locks it up, gets sideways, and unfortunately he is directly in the middle of the track right there. And then had a little bit of trouble getting it back into gear to get it back going, but that's going to move Biggert up into second, Steiner into third. Caffrey going to drop back to fourth place as he just started stretching out from both those two guys, and you thought he had some breathing room.
He's got damage. There's some. It looked like there was some big old damage on the front of Caffrey's car there.
And he brings it in.
Busted toe link. Yeah.
So hard break there for the driver of the 77, going to bring it in and take a fast repair. We'll see where he comes back out, but in the meantime, we talked about it. Colby Hartung has a chance to get in the top 5. We've seen Dominique Ford have a bit of an issue, and we'll take you back and show you what happened. But he had to eventually retire the car here as goes off the track, and hard impact here. Oh no, he actually saved it, but I think just one thing led to another, and I think this just kind of forced him to retire it here. Just wasn't having a good night here, so he ended up calling it not too long after that. But Colby Hartung up into 5th place, and because of Michael Caffrey coming into the pits, he is actually now up into 4th place. You see right there is the battle for 4th now. Does Caffrey have anything left in that Porsche to try and drive up here and battle once again and get back into the top 4 of this thing? Meanwhile, David Steiner still looking for a way around Nathan Biggert.
Unbelievable. It never ends. Always good racing here at Chop Shop. Always good racing. Talking of good racing, Barry Kisser, great save. I'm sure that wasn't that was from something that we had before. There has been some great saves. You know what I think it was? I think it was from Pierce almost getting into the side of a Ferrari. I'm just going to call it a Ferrari for the life of me. I can't remember who it was, but yeah, we saw Pierce locking the front of that car up severely to dodge a sideways Ferrari coming.
Yeah, I think that was Culver.
Onto the very well have been Culver. Yeah, onto the main street. And Joseph G, happy anniversary. I presume that must be to again to Jerry Culver, celebrating his anniversary by ignoring the person who he's having the anniversary with and doing iRacing. And I've got to respect him for that. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, a pre-race smooch and a post-race smooch, that should be enough, right? I mean, it's...
Yeah, that's the way it works. My missus knows the school.
Listen, I only say that because my wife never watches the broadcast, so I can, I'm afforded to see that.
I think mine might be, so...
yeah, love you, Snookums.
I'm sorry, please don't hurt me.
Oh man, all right, well, we're down now under 10 minutes to go here, under 9 minutes now, as James Pierce again out to a 22.5-second lead, so no threat whatsoever on first place, but the second place is getting threatening as Steiner has been right there, and between him, Biggert, and I keep wanting to say McCaffrey, but Michael Caffrey. Those guys put on a heck of a battle for most of this race, but Caffrey having the issue, falls back now to 5th, and trying to mount a little bit of a charge on Colby Hartung for 4th, but looks like it's going to be just a little bit too much to get up there. But meanwhile, David Steiner has been mounting charge after charge on this 19 of Nathan Biggert, just cannot get it done yet. And you see the back end of that Porsche wrinkled in a little bit from where Steiner got into the back of him when Caffrey spun, but these guys are putting on a great show.
I also think that the front end of that BMW might just have a wrinkle or two. So I think both of them have got a wrinkle or two on the front of those cars. So I think could make things a little interesting. It's certainly going to affect their tyre wear as the race goes on without having the maximum amount of downforce that they could possibly have throughout the race. And just to back you up a second here, Carl, flick over to the live chat. David Tilford, neither does Warren Cole. So I'm not going to push that any further because Moz listening.
That's it. That's it. You don't want to keep going? I'll give you free air. I'll go ahead and mute myself. No, you good?
No, I'm finished. I mean, I might be literally finished after this, but I'm just saying I'm finished.
So we've now got 7 minutes left and only 0.7 of a second separating the two here. Can Steiner get it done? Can he get up there and grab a second place from Nathan Biggert? All the rest of the gaps are pretty much set in stone unless somebody makes an error here at the end. But all in all, pretty good drive by these guys. Seeing the grass really being the only thing that's come into play, and a lot of guys having issues just getting a little bit of rubber off of that grass when they go into the braking zones, and that's what's looped some guys around here. I think the only issue that we've seen kind of on the track was Caffrey when he spun out right in front of the field, and it looks like Caffrey may have had another bit of an issue here. And unfortunately, yeah, big lockup right there, but a good job getting it stopped and keeping it on track and getting back going again. So, heck, he might even gain some time doing that.
Yeah, I don't want to say he will, but oof. Okay, a question for you. If you're Steiner right now, Carl, what do you do? Because you've been behind Biggert for pretty much the entire race, looking for that gap, looking for that mistake. He refuses to make it for you. Actually, now looking at it, it does look like Biggert's actually made a little bit of a breakaway from Steiner right now.
Yeah, and he's starting to stretch out just a little bit. We've seen this before. We've seen it, creep up into even the 1.5 seconds. But surprisingly, down this backstretch here, it seems is where Steiner really gains the most amount of time. And it makes no sense because the BMW is one of the slower ones on the straightaways, and the Porsche one of the faster ones. So you'd think it'd be the opposite, but he does seem to gain some time right there. But I don't know. I mean, both guys have a little bit of damage. Obviously, the Porsche has the damage in the back. BMW has damage in the front. But like you said, either that Porsche right there from Nathan Biggert has got some damage in the front of it, or Landon McQueen's drooling a little bit at the front.
Yeah. No, I think he's drooling.
Okay.
I think that's what it.
All right, so we're good. He's seen this second place, and he's happy, he's stretching out a lead here, so he's drooling over that second place right now. Totally understandable.
Yeah, it does actually look like he's drooling, and that's what it is. It's putting Steiner off because he's running over drool, and he's losing traction.
Well,
I think,
and then I think the drool is kind of cooling those tires off for Biggert, so he's able to make those right hand, the left hand turns so much better. I mean, you see right there, just rotating so well. But yeah, I mean, getting back to your question, if you're Steiner, unfortunately, he's dropping back to 2 seconds behind now. You're doing everything you can, unfortunately. I mean, you have to run as hard as you can, and you have to be right there up on that guy lap after lap after lap, and hope that he makes a mistake, even just a little one, just to get a little bit closer, an inch closer. But if the guy doesn't make any mistakes, I mean, sometimes one person's just better than the other one, and he has just a little bit better lines. I mean, Steiner can experiment with some of these corners and take some different lines, see if they're a little bit faster, maybe entering or exiting. But unfortunately, time is starting to run out here, and we're down to 3.5 minutes left.
Yeah, that's true. And once again, flicking over to the live, Pierce is doing a hell of a job staying up front tonight. Barry, I mean, he's 23 seconds up right now. I mean, that's just... Nobody else has had anything for him tonight. He's just put on an absolute display. The car looks clean. He's just completely dominated the field here tonight. I mean, we've seen it before, and we know that he's blisteringly quick. But yeah, this is just pushed home the point, really. He is unfortunately, I say unfortunately, class of the field. It just doesn't seem to be that anybody else has anything for him right now.
No, and really, not too many had anything for him this entire season here. I mean, he's just had some little mistakes here and there throughout the season. That's about the only options that he's given these other drivers, as he just he's on a mission. And he's coming through. I mean, he had that little mistake early in this race, and briefly for I think about 3 corners he was in second. So I mean, just really, I mean, looking back, horrible performance here from James Pierce tonight, and you know, just salvaging it here at the end with a 24-25 second lead.
Yeah, he should have been clearly 50 to 60 seconds. I mean, why he hasn't let the rest of the field is, I think he's slacking. I think he needs to go back to his team, apologise. Quit driving a Porsche, start driving a Mini, and I think we should. They should even the field out somewhat.
Well, and like David's saying out there, it looks like Verstappen out there, and yeah, he kind of does. He's clearly the class of the field, and I'm wondering if at this point, you know, there's about 1 lap left, if he's telling the crew that he wants to come in and get a fresh set of softs and go out there for the fastest lap and get that extra bonus point.
It wouldn't surprise me, actually. It would not surprise me if he came in, but on the first set of times, just went out, did 1 quick lap. I mean, the fuel's light. I mean, the car's probably going to feel pretty good. What's the track temp right now? I mean, if it's dropped enough, I'm going to have a quick look. 111 is probably the coolest it's been. All right, come on, do it.
Get after it.
Do it. Get in there.
Well, he is going to be getting the white flag this time by, and just a great race here again from the 23, and really from the guys behind him as well. I mean, Nathan Baker, David Steiner running a great race. Colby Hartung, great bounce back after, I mean, just absolutely destroying the front end of that car. He's going to come home, you know, looking to be in 4th place. Michael Caffrey, just another one. It seems like everybody that's gotten to that 2nd place has kind of fallen off. I mean, we've seen Dominic Ford in 2nd place. He had his issues. We've seen Michael Caffrey in 2nd place. He's had his issues. We've seen Colby Hartung in 2nd place. He's had his issues. I mean, it's just, maybe this 2nd place isn't shored up yet for Nathan Biggert, but we are on the white flag lap right now, and Pierce has only got a few more miles before he can claim win number 6 here.
I'm having a little trouble finding it. Pit lap 11. No, Colby Hartung does look like, even though he pitted on lap 11, is going to make it right to the end. Now, please, I've said it. Please actually let him make it to the end, because if he runs out of fuel on the last lap, then that's going to be all on me, and I will take that on the chin. But that will be an impressive drive from Colby there if he actually manages to make that from lap 11 right to the end of this race.
Yeah, a great drive. Hopefully he can make this thing last all the way to the end. It definitely doesn't sound like he's using everything up, so he may have to be saving here a little bit to get this thing to the end, but he's going to see the white flag this time by as well, and to be able to get this thing hopefully home in 1 more lap. Okay, I seen him wiggle there a little bit. I was hoping he wasn't weaving, because if he's weaving right there after he just passed the pits, he's not going to make it back around.
I'm trying to listen for the engine note to see whether or not he's revving it out, but that car is a Prius and therefore doesn't have an engine note.
Exactly. I swear right now he's on the and maybe that's true. I thought he was saving gas, but he's probably on full throttle. You just can't hear him. But James Pierce is going to come home and claim win number 6 here on the season. Great performance, and going to win this thing by over 25 seconds. Nathan Biggert has stretched out the lead here over David Steiner here to finish this thing out, and he's going to bring around the final corner and grab 2nd place. You see right behind him, David Steiner come around the final corner. He's going to grab your last spot on the podium. Wesley Strait going to finish in 6th. John Hammond going to finish in 7th. And we're just waiting for Hartung and Caffrey, so we'll keep an eye on Hartung just to make sure he makes it to the end and wasn't jinxed by my co-commentator here. But at least he's getting towards the higher part of the track right now, and I won't say that he can coast from here, but it's all downhill from here. So going to make 2 more right-hand corners, and yeah, good drive back here for the 21. He is going to lock up 4th place here tonight. Caffrey going to come home in 5th, and possibly a little disappointing 5th right here. Salas going to be in 8th. Philip Caffrey in 9th. And it's going to be Culver, Ford, DeRue, and Balsamo rounding out your field as a little extracurricular there at the end. But Mark, all in all, I mean, a great race by a lot of these guys. And once again, we get some good battles. And we talked about it, you know, kind of early in the race that, you know, James Pierce seems to be the class of the field, but the rest of the field, I mean, you can throw 5, 6 names in the hat, and you don't really know who's going to come home in second.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Some very different approaches to the race there, I think, from a couple of these guys. Colby having that damage earlier on, deciding that he was going to run that very long strategy, which did work out for him in the end. An impressive 4th for Mr. Hartung there. Nathan Bigger and David Steiner battling all through the race. What seemed to be battling all through the race until the last 5 or 6 laps, where Nathan managed to get a little bit of a gap out there. I think Caffrey was unlucky with his spin and getting involved there. I think he could have been up there with them right towards the end. I think that would have been a really close 2nd, 3rd, 4th battle if Caffrey had managed to stay in there. But even so, it was still some great racing from Okayama. A tricky track, as we've discovered, and a lot of these drivers have found out tonight. But yeah, even still, some great racing out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, your rundown for tonight is going to be James Pierce, the 23, winning this thing. Nathan Biggert in 2nd, David Steiner 3rd, Colby Hartung in 4th, Michael Caffrey in 5th, Wesley Strait in 6th, John Hammond, Steven Salas, Philip Caffrey, and Jerry Culver rounding out your top 10. Then we have Dominique Ford, Cameron DeRue, and Isaac Balsamo rounding out the field. So we'll get these guys in here into the waiting room, and looks like they are ready to go. So we'll go ahead and pull in our first man. And Mark, why don't you go ahead and take our 3rd place finisher, the 63 of David Steiner.
David, Mark up here in the booth. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, good morning to you, Mark.
Yes, thanks very much. It's nice to have you back in here. How are you, my friend? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah.
That looked tough out there. I'm not going to lie. That looked tricky. Really high track temp. There was a lot of high wind out there. Did you find that you were struggling a bit with BMW in those high temps?
Yeah, I was a bit, Mark. I mean, the first couple of laps on a set of tyres were okay. The performance was there, but they were heating up very quickly. Track was, I think, low usage today, so the grip wasn't there. And the BMW was really cooking its front end. And so I was trying the best I could to push there with Nate and close that gap, which I was able to do for a while, but then the performance just dropped off, and that was the end of the afternoon.
Yeah, for the longest time you were behind Nate, and you looked like you were going to and fro lap times. It looked at certain parts of the track that you were quicker, especially on some of the longer straights, which we found unusual up here, because normally the Porsche is like blistering in a straight line, and the BMW tends to struggle a little, but it looked like you had it all under control. And on the brakes, it looked like you're absolute dynamite in places. Yeah, it looked just like towards the end, Nate just had slightly better grip than you, and I was just managing to squeeze away at the end. But that was only for the last 5 laps. For the first 3 quarters of the race, it looked like you were all over him looking for that pass.
Yeah, doing the best I could, pushing there, trying to use the strengths of the BMW. And you're right. I found that into the hairpin, the braking zone was a better attribute for the BMW, and I was able to close the gap. And also through the left-right S's, the sweeping left-rights. Yep. But aside from that 992, geez, it's quick. It's through the long sweepers, the trail braking sweepers, that car just rotates just nicely, and you just hard to keep that pace.
Yeah, and it does look very much like the BMW was very quick in certain aspects, and then on the parts where you needed to get a run to actually make the move stick for you, it was just I don't think the track played well for the BMW's hands in the way that you couldn't get the pass done. It seemed like every sweeping section had a long straight after it where he could get the drive out, and then you'd be on the brakes and close that gap back up. And then another sweeping section, he'd pull away again, and there'd be a big stop, and you could close back up. So it was almost like a rock and hard place. You could never just seem to find the right gap or the right area to get the move done on him.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a shame. Yeah, coming out of that sweep with that right-hander, as you said, I just couldn't get couldn't stay on the back of the car, of the Porsche, around that right-hander. And then, yeah, the braking zone suited the BM, but I just wasn't quite within striking distance to make it effective.
Yeah. Well, still a third place. Still a hell of a battle between you, Nate, and Caffrey for a while. Caffrey looked like he had a little bit of an issue coming into, I believe it was Revolver. He was either that or the hairpin, and he ended up. I know it was the hairpin. He ended up sideways in front of you and Nate, and there was just a little bit of a nose to tail situation. And I think that gave all of you just a fraction of damage. I think actually Michael Caffrey suffered a toe link breakage or something because he was in the pit the lap after. So at that point, I think it was pretty much going to be decided who was going to be second, third, and fourth, or second, third, and fifth at that point.
Yeah, that incident there, that came as a surprise. You completely unsighted into that hairpin, so I didn't know that the green machine number 77 was parked up there. So yeah, we did have to try and avoid. Did Caffrey hit the wall in the process there?
No, I think what it was Caffrey was on the way in. He slightly over-rotated. He actually managed to jam on the brakes to stop the car from spinning right the way round, but he was then at 90 degrees to the track and then there in front of everybody. At which point, I believe it was Nate who saw him, I say unsighted, but was on his entry, hit the brakes, but then hit his right front, which I believe then broke the toe link.
Yeah, well, I think Nate then, in that case, if Caffrey suffered a broken toe link, then Nate's lucky to get away with that. He must have had some reasonable damage there too that was slowing him up. So good work, Nate.
Yeah. There was a bit. It looked like the front of that Porsche was drooling. Me and myself and Carl were having quite a giggle to ourselves because there was a big white line round by the side of Lightning McQueen's mouth, which did look like he was drooling all over the track. But before I let you go, my friend, is there anybody who you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, sure. Look, thanks to the field for turning up. I'm really enjoying dicing with these guys. It's been a great few races. Last week, what a great track that was there at Long Beach. Thoroughly enjoyed that. This week here, Okinawa, another great race. Really enjoyed that. So thanks to those guys. Thanks to the sponsor there, Fugo Paints, and to the Chop Shop team for hosting us and putting on the event. Thank you. And thanks to you guys there, Mark and Carl as well.
Oh, we appreciate that. All right, then, my friend, I will let you get back and try and slow down for a minute and take a breather and talk with the family and the team.
Yeah, and put on the replay and enjoy the race there on the big screen. And yeah, thanks again. And Mark, I'll see you in the booth next week.
All right, then, my friend. Take care.
All right, that your third place finisher here tonight, the 63 of David Steiner. Now we'll switch up to our second place finisher, and that is going to be the 19 of Nathan Biggerton. And Nate, it seemed like you were in a 3-4 car battle for the first half of this race, and you kind of slowly started losing one after another from that battle. And it seemed like anybody that got in the second place was having issues. I mean, Dominic Ford had issues. Then obviously Caffrey had his issues. Even Colby Hartung was up there. He had issues. So you kind of just had to weed your way through. And unfortunately, it was Caffrey having the issue just after he finally stretched out a little bit of lead over you and Steiner. He has the issue in the hairpin. So did you see him as you entered the hairpin, or was it kind of blind and then all of a sudden you seen him right at the last second?
No, I could see him, and I seen him spin, and I guess I was just thinking that, you know, he would hold the brake or whatever, and we'll just get on the inside. There was just barely enough room to make it, but I think he wasn't sure about how the gap in behind him was, so he was either trying to move out of the way or just straighten himself to get going again. But yeah, I mean, it was slight contact. It didn't seem to hurt the car at all, so that was awesome. Still had great pace afterwards, and yeah, I mean, it was a great race. Like, that was fun, man. Like, that battle for second place in the beginning there, when it was like 4 or 5 of us all just in a train. I think that's what it came down to in the end, was just people. A lot of us had close to the same speed. It was just who was going to make less mistakes than the other guys.
Well, I think when you take a look back at this race and even just taking a look at your car during the interview here, you'll realize that a little bit more damage to the front of that Porsche than you probably realized, and it was actually hard enough impact into Caffrey that he had to bring it in and take a fast repair. So I'm not sure if he had a meatball or what, but certainly damage to his Porsche. But we kind of joked because it looked like he had a bit of a white stripe on the side of Lightning McQueen's mouth there, so we figured you were just drooling over the second place you're going to get here tonight. But yeah, I mean, talk about how this track was. It seemed like you guys were really struggling here tonight, especially in practice. But you kind of all seem to get a little bit of a hang of it here tonight. But the braking zones here, right up alongside the grass, it just takes one little wrong move and you're spinning around.
Yeah, I'm not sure because I haven't done a ton of laps on this track, but it seemed to me like tonight maybe the high downforce was the problem, because it seemed like the cars you could really like overdrive them easily without losing control. Like, you could like drive into the corner real hard, like, and just let the car. It just had so much grip that it was still okay. Obviously, you're still going to have moments like you hit the grass and stuff, or just get a little bit out of shape. We've seen that, you know, people just still losing it, but it was a little harder to do, in my opinion. So I think that it kept us all together like that, which was good, but it made you feel like you should be overdriving the car because you could, you know, but I think that's what I found that out earlier on in, like, say, practice, and I tried to use that during the race, and it definitely came into my favor, especially at the end there, because, you know, I had Dave right behind me, and he was gonna get by me, but I think he was doing that and overdriving it and just beat up the tires a little bit, and I just stayed at the same pace I was, and he just started falling back, you know.
Yeah, I think that little bit
that was the
of
thing. Just don't overdrive it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that little bit of air he was getting certainly didn't help either. But you were nice and consistent the entire race. I mean, it didn't seem like you were overdriving that car. And this is a track where it can certainly eat those tires up a little bit. And the Porsche kind of known for that. But you did a good job out there. I mean, I'm sure the high temperatures out here. I mean, 118-degree track temperatures, and even the wind was gusting up to 15 miles an hour, which is, you know, typically a lot higher than we see. So. Those could have been factors into the handling of the car as well.
Yeah, definitely. Because I had definitely an issue on my outlap. After I pitted, I took tires, and it just, you know, it doesn't have the grip with them nice, fresh, cold tires on it. And I ended up spinning it around the same spot Caffrey did, you know. And that's what brought me back to them after the pit stop, because I had a gap before that. And then on my outlap, that happened, and I ended up right back there with Dave and Michael. But yeah, that was my plan, was just stay consistent, try to get in them 130s lap times the whole way through.
Well, it worked out nice. You got your second place after coming off the win last week. So now, again, we talked about only 4 races left until the playoffs start, and with the win last week, you're already locked into the playoffs. But I mean, is it still taking it race by race here, and maybe try to collect some playoff points before you get there, or are you starting to look at some of the playoff races and maybe getting some practice in early?
I would say probably next week would be a wash for me. We're doing Nürburgring next week, the whole thing, and I'm just not. I've made probably one lap around that place. that I didn't crash at, and it was probably 45 seconds off normal pace. So
that goes for about I'd say 60% of the drivers on the service, so you're fine there.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm guessing next week a lot of us will be turning on the drive line and just trying to survive.
Absolutely.
Because that's basically my plan for it anyways. The drive line's gonna have to be on. But yeah, I like the fact of getting that win and being locked in. So I would definitely probably guess that my focus would be on the races later on in the season. Like next week, just cruise, just try to finish the race and just worry about getting through the regular season. But definitely most of my practice, I'll probably try to focus on them last couple races, because I'm going to have to get about, I don't know, 3 times better than I am to be able to keep up with James. So I'm going to need a lot of practice to do that.
Absolutely. Well, either way, you're racking up good finishes here, back to back to back. So I mean, it's a good sign to kind of head into the time in the playoffs with that in hand. So congrats to your second place here tonight. And anybody you want to give a shout out to or thanks to?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I want to thank you guys, Corey Racing Network, for doing the broadcasts. What a great show to watch, man. Like when I go back and watch these races afterwards, it's just fun. You know, I put my phone out at work and just let it play while I'm working and listening to you guys. It's exciting. It's fun. I know the fans must enjoy it. I know that the field ain't huge out here, but you know, we'll get some more, and it's just fun racing. Get these guys that race ovals out here and have fun. So thank the Chop Shop crew for doing this series. I definitely appreciate it, because I think I was one of the big advocates for us doing this, but they're the ones that do all the work. You know, John Stryker, Mark Odell, they do a lot of work to keep this league going, and I appreciate everything they do. And I also just want to give a shout out to my mom, tell her I love her.
All right, well, congrats once again on your second place, and hopefully you can find that speed in the next 4 rounds to start giving up. Here's some worry here going to the playoffs, but either way, good run here tonight.
Yeah, thank you guys.
That is your second place finisher, the 19 of Nathan Biggert, and looks like we actually lost James Pierce. He's just down there, so we're just gonna have to we're gonna pull him up here whether he likes it or not, and get an interview with him. So now we will bring in our winner here tonight, the 23 of James Pierce. And Mark, why don't you go ahead and take him?
James, Mark up here in the booth. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. I'm I'm on the starting grid of a race.
In that case, I will keep it brief.
No, you're all good. No, this is fine.
No, I'll keep it brief, because I know, I don't like to be interviewed if I'm about to drive.
Oh, dude, this is fun. In-car reporter here.
Okay. Slight issue, though. Wrong track. I'm just...
Yep.
Great race from you tonight. With 20-odd second lead. It looked like you only had one little over rotation going into Williams, and one Ferrari stopped right in front of you. They look like your only issues tonight.
Yeah, it was a big one, man. I'm really glad that I almost overcorrected it. Thankfully, I didn't. That was really nice. But a couple moments, really struggling with the tires to keep them from not scrubbing. So I started to lose a lot of time and a lot of confidence in the car as we got later into the stints because of that. And that spin definitely didn't help. But no, yeah, it was fault free. I'd say quite a few off track sides, but fault free besides that spin. So glad to keep it a little more cleaner than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a lot worse for me.
Well, between that 118 degree track temp and 11 to 13 mile an hour wind gusts, it must have been tricky to keep that Porsche out there going in a straight line.
Oh yeah, it was track temp definitely. That was from lap 1. That was an issue, so I had to keep that in check, and really didn't do much for myself in the beginning of it with scrubbing the tires. But second stint kind of went a lot better with the tire management, and the wind gusts, especially into the back straight into turn 6. It was an interesting affair sometimes. But no, other than that, it was good. The conditions are tricky and fun, so I enjoyed that.
Yeah, still a superb race from you, an absolute clinic put on. Again, as we were saying earlier, nearly a 30-second gap between you and the rest of the field. But this win does guarantee you a space in the playoffs. So you're looking forward to Nürburgring next week? I mean, I have to admit, I kind of like that place. So it should be interesting to see how some of these guys who don't have as much track time as some of the other guys do around there.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's one of my favorite tracks of all time. I've done more than probably thousands of laps around there for fun, and I'm gonna enjoy it. That's what I'm looking forward to this whole season, is that race. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, if you've put in as many laps around there as you say, then I think some of these other guys are going to wonder what exactly is happening, because it's a very tricky little track to get the whole heap of corners, 170 something odd corners if my memory serves me correctly. So it should be very, very interesting. But I won't hold you up for too long, because I know you're probably going to be busy. So one last thing before you go, is there anybody who you want to give a shout out to?
You guys, I think this is the main one. You guys really do make this a dream come true for a league side of it. You guys provide the entertainment. You guys keep it interesting, and you guys do a really good job up in the booth. So I just want to thank you guys as well as the league for hosting it on. It's been a pleasure every time.
Well, we thank you, James, for getting around there and showing some of these guys what exactly can be done in the GT3 car while you're out there. So I will let you go, but it's been a pleasure, and hopefully we will speak to you next week.
Yes, sir. See you guys.
All right, that your winner here tonight, the 23 of James Pierce, collecting win number 6 on the season. Just want to send a thank you out once again to the sponsors here before we forget, and that being the main sponsor here of Fuego Paints, Admin Box, Track Racer, and W Energy. But I got to go back to the interview that you guys just had and point out 2 mistakes. You know me, I don't like to point out mistakes too often, but when I have a chance, I'm going to. And a mistake from each of you. So I mean, not too often that James Pierce makes a mistake. You, on the other hand, that's a different story. But
Wow.
so I heard James Pierce say that Nürburgring is fun. Absolutely not. That was mistake number 1. And then I heard you say at one point it's a nice short little track. I don't know where you're talking about short. I guess maybe, pit lane is maybe shorter than some other tracks, but other than that, good God, it is not a short track.
I mean, it's like one of those dinky little dirt ovals. You
could chop the Nürburgring up 10 ways, and it's still longer than a lot of tracks that are out there. But either way, that is the track that is on tap for next week. It is. I mean, Mark,
16.7 miles or something.
Yeah,
close to that. 175 corners, 176 corners, if my memory serves me correctly.
And the nickname of
that's one lap.
And the nickname of it should tell you everything that it is.
Green Hell.
There you go. And that's where we're headed next week. So good luck to all the drivers. It sounds like James Pierce is already looking forward to it. I know some of these other drivers, you heard Nathan Biggert not exactly looking forward to it. And I'm sure that's how most drivers feel about Nürburgring. It's a love-hate relationship with me. It's a very, very difficult track. And I mean, you want to talk about a track that you have to get muscle memory when you're going that long on one single lap. You really have to understand the track, and you have to drive 50 to 100 laps just to understand where you got to turn in for some of the corners, and how to exit, and how some of them, you're going up and over bends and down around through corners, and even some places on the track where your car may get a little airborne. So it's a very, very difficult track, but we'll see these guys out there next week. Then we'll have Imola after that. Watkins Glen and Suzuka will round out the regular season. So got some good races here coming out to finish out the regular season before we hit the playoffs. But good race out here tonight by these guys, and some great battles, especially for second, third, and fourth for quite some time. And good to see these guys get out there and have a good sized field. That is going to do it for us here tonight. Make sure, if you haven't done so yet, hit that like and subscribe button to get you everything that CRN has to offer. Again, we're just absolutely loaded 7 days a week with broadcasts here for you every night of the week. So if you're into racing, you're at the right spot. But for myself and Mark at Okayama, we'll see you at the track.
Take care, people.